The most interesting thing about Jeppestown is that it's probably the roughest place that you can be in, and it's the most beautiful place as well. So it's kind of like having that taxi driver who's mean and nasty, and yet can be the sweetest person and protect you in times of need.
My community has always been scattered here and there. It's even harder to see it the way it is. It's in need of good repair. But who will see that for the blind, and who will be the voice for the mute? If not me, us, who else would it be? So please, guys, let us also be the bird that preaches and never stops.
The idea of the Superdream came about as a result of initially an invitation to produce a piece of work for the British Council's Connect-ZA program for 2014. And the conceptual framework for the piece was inspired by the idea of working with temporary, artistic, creative, multidisciplinary interventions in public space. The role of the Trinity Session in this project was practically to establish a set of relationships between artists and organizers in the United Kingdom and artists and organizers in Johannesburg, and to facilitate those relationships at the international exchange level and at the level of local exchange when the UK artists visited South Africa and participated in the Joburg Artists Project.
Stephen called one day and says, hey, I've got potentially some funding. Let's do a project together. We all had engaged communities in Jeppestown, so we said, let's try and do this project in Jeppestown and around the park, one of the few last public spaces and green spaces in this part of the city. And together we work towards identifying needs for a particular space, and then we try and work together towards achieving those needs through various mediums, including art.
We did a study on the park to find out what people wanted in the park. Turns out they want toilets, they want rubbish cleaned up out of the park, they want access to water, and to be safe in the park, because in general there's not a lot of street lights and it's not a very safe park.
Art is a really good way of trying to bring out deep underlying issues in a community, but safely, without causing conflict and without causing issues.
The artists are predominantly young, emerging, or in many cases unknown, black artists who have either been born in the area or came here over time, grown up in the area, come to know the city, come to know the neighborhood really well. It's really important not to have an expectation of the talent that you would like, but rather to open yourself up to all possibilities.
Sparks, for example, has a whole lot of talent in a whole lot of different areas, but never really spoke much about it. Said he was a story maker. Turns out he's also a dancer and taught himself how to make documentaries. Linda is a very sensitive artist and a very articulate and a trained artist, very thoughtful about what he produces. MK is a very sensitive story writer with a very soft heart that tells beautiful stories and beautiful poems. Tony is a young girl trying to establish herself who feels the usual teenage frustrations at life, but how do I express myself? I need to express myself. And so we were able to help her get some of that stuff out and express it.
So I decided that they should actually follow community members within the community, so they could actually get a clearer understanding of what the park meant, not to them as artists, but to the community. So therefore they could create pieces that would then come into the park and not only represent them as artists, but also represent the community as well.
So each artist stepped out of their comfort zone, and that's what Angel's intent was. And it was brilliant, because then they started thinking about how other people live their lives and other people's struggles.
As each individual artist was able to focus on their specific exhibit, in some cases they were very, high-tech, physical computing, sculptural interaction pieces. In other cases, the filmmakers from the Jeppy crew were intensively involved in making the superhero film. A dream becomes real in that there is a translation of the possibility of new and different forms of expression that would ideally at first just aim to excite a young person and excite an elderly person and everybody in between.
That week was fun, but it was hectic because a couple of days we didn't sleep. We had to push our work and actually put everything together. So it was quite exciting because we worked some nights, day and night with the guys from the UK.
I've learned so many things from those people, and the second I've learned skill, which is very important. You know, I've learned so many things from the UK.
No one really understands what art is in this community. There's a certain perception of what art can be. It's either you draw and then that's it. And what we did on the final product, and to have the community come out and support us like that was amazing. I didn't think we would have such a big following.
We didn't think that we would have so many people in the park that night on the 19th. You know. Over 300 people actually came through, you know, and all that. Mostly there were people from the community, and they were excited of what was happening because it was more magical. The lighting in the park hasn't been lighting for like almost 20 to 23 years.
In terms of the intentions of the exhibition, it was very interesting how Tom Porter from the British Council said this was the first time in his experience of productions that he'd ever seen an audience literally running towards a stage where a dance piece was about to take place. So this is perhaps evidence of a serious need and desire and pleasure gained from such an experience.
Superdream has opened their eyes to what the community can do and what the community and the fact that their community is willing to support.
These projects don't save or change people's lives in huge ways. They don't. They're great events that happen. You try and raise issues and bring them out in the open. You try and work with people and we try and share each other's skills and experiences. But it doesn't necessarily change the world or change a space. What you do try and do is have long-term engagements over years that you can try and teach something to each other and have great long-term relationships and collaborations both on a local level as well as a global level. We have created relationships. Since 2011, when we did this first study, we've created relationships. I've made some new friends, and hopefully we will find more collaborations to work together. We will also continue to facilitate the artists that we work with. So if they need assistance writing film proposals or submitting for an artist residence, we will hopefully continue to learn from each other and work with each other.
That's what we're all leaving with, is that sense of friendship and that kindness. And that's what we need to take forwards when we work in spaces like that and like this. So, thank you.